I'm wifey, baby mama. No drama, no drama. I'm baby mama, your wifey. No drama, no drama. We're family, 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 family. Yes.
Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm
and we're the
Shannon.
host of Wifey and Baby Mama. Welcome back, family. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes.
Happy Thursday. We haven't said that in a while. Happy Thursday, Baby Mama.
Oh, I know. Feels like we've been gone
It has
forever.
been
Happy
some
Thursday.
months, girl. We've been premiering and breaking out
Mhm.
and writing and producing and doing our thing, y'all. I told you we were on to new, bigger, and better
Yes.
things. And Shannon and I released our first production together that she co-wrote on and that I co-produced, and it was good. What the Bible said was not only good, it
Talk
was
about it.
very
Talk
good.
about it.
So you all know,
Talk
or maybe our
about
new
it.
listeners don't know. So we're going to tell you that I have a book out there. It's called I Love the World Should Know, and it's based on my autobiography. And my co-host, my partner, my baby mama, was gracious enough to give me an outline to bring this thing to the screen. And she co-wrote it with another gentleman, Phil Davis, here in Buffalo. And we produced our first 3 episodes that is now out for testing on the market. So give us a prayer, y'all. Give us a shout out that it is picked up by a network and it is
Yes.
carried on for the seasons. And hey, we brought it to Charlotte. We have been in St. Louis. It has been in Alabama. Back in Buffalo,
Mm,
Buffalo in February. Back in Buffalo,
yeah.
May 31st. Um, yeah, so we're outside.
That's all right. That's what we want to hear. And I mean, it's received great reception
Yes,
from all of the different markets that you've been in.
yes.
So I have to give you a great round of applause and say great job. And the part that blew everyone away, blew everyone, is your acting. Everyone said, "What in the world?"
Saving that little bit, Shannon. I was saving that little bit. I don't want to give it away.
I'm sorry.
No, no,
You
no. I
couldn't
was
say.
saving it before we went off air because I'm like, I want to make sure I do okay before I mention that. Before they see the movie and be like, oh, that's her. So now that everyone said I did
Yeah.
okay, okay, it's okay to mention it.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you, baby
Yeah.
mama.
Not to shame anyone
No, no, no.
involved. I
I
mean,
know.
everyone did a great job, but you did you it was like you've been doing this your whole life.
Shannon,
I said, "What in
you
the
are
world?"
too kind. Well, let
But
me tell
yeah,
you that
yeah.
girl that I met out of Atlanta, Shannon, saw the she saw the
Mhm.
episodes. They reached out to me to do another acting part in a show that's going to be in film in Atlanta. I'm like,
Oh,
oh no, I'm not an
wow.
actress. She said, oh, but you are. So say a
Oh,
little prayer for
yeah.
me. So I'll be reading for that in like 2 weeks.
All right.
So
Okay.
I guess I did
Yes,
okay, baby
we
mama. I
will
was
be.
like, I don't know.
Yes,
But
you
you know,
did.
Shannon,
Yes, you
when you
did.
wrote it, reading it, I'm like, I have to do this. I didn't think anyone else could deliver what I needed to be delivered in that moment. I mean, who better than the
Mhm.
person that lived through it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's not always the
Oh, yeah.
case.
Well, no, it's not. Because I was gonna say you got plenty of people that try to act and be themselves on in parts. We've seen people in sitcoms and
Didn't work out.
and they're just as stiff and
Didn't quite go.
I'm like, but you're playing yourself.
You messed that up. Well, hey, like you said, I've seen it done and I was quite
Yeah.
nervous. But God,
Mhm.
when you got God on your side, you walk in a different realm. And I just prayed each and every
Yeah.
set. I said,
Yeah.
Lord, this is not, what I set out to do, but if it's your will, I didn't do that part
Mhm.
to become an actress, but I guess he may have other plans. So we'll we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
right.
just keep on writing,
You
girl. You
never
never
know.
know. All
I
right.
will.
So thank you for that, Shannon. I do appreciate you. I know that was like with your job, your husband. I know that was a lot to undertake. So, all right. So after a long, cold winter, guys, that spilled over into a little spring. I don't know about Charlotte
Mhm.
down there, Shannon, but Buffalo, it's going still a little bit. Okay, we still got our heat on, just on low. But anyways,
Oh my
We are
gosh.
persevering, guys.
Yeah.
And with that cold weather, we still decided we're going to get on back in. So we promised you May. We slid in here on the last Thursday, but hey, it's still May. We kept our word.
Yeah.
So
It's still
here we
May.
are, episode 1 of season 5, as we promised.
Mhm.
Now we know, yeah, we
All
know some
right.
of you thought, we would be like, no, they're not coming back. They tired. They ain't got that much in it. The devil is a
Mhm.
liar. Yeah, 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 yeah. We are here.
Yeah.
The devil is a
Yeah.
liar.
Not only are we here, yep, but not only are we here, but I have to give, a lot of kudos to those around the world that even though we were gone for, these 5 months or so, the people around the globe continue to download
Talk
and
about it.
listen to us
Right.
and give feedback. I said, oh man, they're just, even people just listening to the latest episode for the first time. They didn't even listen to anything from the first seasons. They just picked up
Well,
on,
that
I
might be a
guess,
good thing.
based off of the titles and things like that. Oh,
I'm
well,
so
yeah, I
stiff.
know. Yeah, please don't go back to the
Hey,
first
stay right
season.
here. No need to digging up the past. Y'all come on, just join us. Jump right in.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Hey, it's nothing we're
But
ashamed
it
of.
is so.
You
I
live and you
know nothing we're
no.
ashamed of, and
We have grown so
yeah,
much.
and seeing. Yeah, and picking up all these additional countries. So even since we signed off, we got our badge of honor for 50 countries, and
Yes.
we've even surpassed
Okay, give
that
us another
since
round
we
of
announced
applause,
that
girl.
on social media. Yeah, even since we announced that.
Yes.
Yes. We've
50
even
countries,
gone
guys.
beyond. Yes, yes. So now we're probably closer to 60, but I'll get an
Wow.
official count some at some point in the season. But yeah, we're just worldwide. So love it and love everyone that support us and listen and, much
We thank
appreciated.
you all. We thank you now. Now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit tired, auntie, a little bit tired. But wife and baby mama is not gonna be the sacrificial lamb here in our lives. This show is far too important. This podcast is important to us. It's
Mhm.
important to our community of
Mhm.
listeners. From all the emails, like Shannon said, the steady growth in our numbers, the
Yeah.
DMs that we get, we're making a difference. And as long as
Yeah.
God gives us breath and health, we're going to show up for you guys because you are showing up for us, man. And we appreciate it so much.
Yeah. We do. We
We
do.
like to have fun, make you guys smile. We make you think with the topics we bring.
Mhm.
We make you guys get into it. And hopefully, well, no, not hopefully, we know from our emails and DMs that we are changing lives and relationships. And tonight we're going to get deep again. So are you ready, Shannon?
Yes, we are. I'm ready.
All
Let's
right,
do
let's
it.
go. Episode 1 is titled Don't Pass the Torch. Now, usually when we think of passing the torch, Shannon, it's a good thing. You want to pass it, right? Well, not in tonight's
Mhm.
topic.
Mhm.
For the first episode, Shannon and I thought this would be a good topic for our seasoned listeners and more even for our new fam. We may have listening in for the first time. Our podcast, as most of you know, is geared towards blended families, family, love, relationship, and just life. And tonight we want to discuss men and women who didn't see their mothers properly loved. Those individuals usually grow into adults who are emotionally unavailable for their spouses. And in a lot of cases, Shannon, for their kids, especially sons.
Mhm.
And I'm
Right.
going to touch on that because I see the difference in male and female, when it comes to that, even in my home, because I unfortunately have one of those spouses that I had to, I don't know what you call them, unlearn. We had to unlearn the passing of that unemotional torch. And what happens is these children
Mm.
inherit these traits. And now we're left with generation of loveless relationships and not so much as emotional as it is physical, Shannon. Like they don't know how to hug, they don't know how to hold
Right.
hands.
Right.
And my husband,
Yeah.
for example, he didn't come from a family that hugged and kissed and said, "Oh, I love you," as you're leaving for work or leaving for school.
Mhm.
But however, Shannon, as you may have experienced, but you guys were not together in our capacity, but when you were for a while and you share a child,
Mhm.
he will give you the shirt off his back. And
Right.
that's his I love you.
Oh yeah, for
That's his I
sure.
love you. He
Yeah.
loves
Yeah.
very hard in, in a giving way,
Mhm.
but not so much an emotional way.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the truth. That's one thing I can say about him. He, would give anything,
Yeah.
Um, if you say you're hungry, oh, he's running to get you something to eat. If you say,
Exactly. You can have his
whatever,
food even.
you don't have to worry about that.
You
Yeah,
can have this.
exactly. Yeah. Uh-huh. And but like you said, when you grow up a certain way, like for me even, which I know we'll touch on even more, but I have a lot of regret when it comes to my son because I grew up that way. My mother, you know, did the best she could, providing. Of course, we never wanted for
Hmm.
anything, clothing, food, shelter. We had the best of best. We were Air Force brats or whatever. But when it came to that emotional connection, we didn't have it because she didn't have it from her mother. So then I, in turn, did not give it to my son.
Mm.
And Sean, you've noticed when you go to
Yeah.
hug Jay, he stiffens
Yep.
up. He doesn't just do that with you, he does it with everybody.
Wow.
It's like, ooh, ooh,
It's
ooh,
like
who's
that
touching me?
that torch was passed to him and Jamila, to both my
Yeah.
daughter and Jay. And I'm
Wow.
gonna tell you something,
Wow.
Shannon. It's almost even like with their father,
Mm-hmm.
when I would first, like I said, he's much better now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like a form of embarrassment when you would hug him in public or go to kiss him,
Yeah.
or we'd
Yeah.
be out and someone I'm like, oh, I'm leaving, sweetheart, I love you. And he'd look at me like, what? What? Why'd you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's wrong with him? Like, did you sleep with the dude? Wife? Like, what's happening? But I learned over the years, it was like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was like almost offensive to him
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because he
Yeah.
wasn't taught that.
And but one person I can say that Jay has always he doesn't mind, being, hugged up with, and that's his grandmother in
Okay.
Buffalo. Getting in the bed with her. Because she was very affectionate with him, more so than me, well, a lot, not more so, of course, all the way. So their interaction, is very good, and I'm grateful that he got the love from her. Um, or the affection, I shouldn't say love, because of course I love my
Right.
son, always have
It's just
loved
the
him, and
affection.
gave him the world. It's just the affection, the physical touch, let's curl up on a couch and watch a movie together. Now I would give anything
To do
to
that.
have
But
had
now he's
that,
a grown
with
man. You know
him.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a grown man. He's like, don't
But
touch
let me
me.
tell that's funny because that's his
Right.
sister of two. But let me tell you that it's so strange that you say, but he got that from his mother. That's also the same mother that didn't give it
His
to his
grandmother.
son,
Mm.
to her son. So you see, it's almost like being a
Oh.
grandparent. It's like your second chance to get it right. You get what I'm saying? Because he did not
Oh,
receive that from his
wow.
mom. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Not that she didn't love him just like you. Now, we can
Mm.
all stand here 10 toes down, 11, 12, 20 hands and say that his mother would just, she would go to the ends of the earth back for her son. She loves Jimmy,
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt,
Oh my
hands
gosh,
down.
yes.
But he was not taught that
No
affectionate part
doubt.
of it, and it's just so funny to see how it doubles back to his son and my daughter, and even our baby son. Like
Mhm.
she loves those kids like no other. Like her
Mhm.
world lights up when the
Mhm.
kids walk in the room. And if my daughter like don't go see her because
Wow.
see we lived where Jay lived with you guys. You guys lived with his mom for a while. Remember
Mhm.
we left when Jamila was young.
Mhm.
She was raised in the bulk of her adult life down south, her young teenage life, let's say that. She would come here for summers for a month or two.
Okay.
So her and his mom don't have the connection that she and Jay has because Jay kind of spent a lot of his younger years with grandma,
Okay.
right? But she still says, "Hey,
Yes,
where's
he
Jamila?"
did.
She still says, "I haven't heard from you a while." But I can tell that her connection with my daughter is not the same with the other grandkids who grew up here with her, and that's something totally different
Okay.
than passing the torch. So I don't want
Mhm.
to confuse the two
Oh, right.
because she
Right.
definitely loves
Yeah,
and
totally
hugs on her
different.
grandkids. She loves Jamila and Frank and all of her grandkids. But it's just really funny that her son,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, he didn't get that. And hit the torch was passed to him. Like it's not like, oh, get off of me. When you're hugging him, it's almost like, oh. So now that he's older, of course we don't have that anymore. But
Mhm.
Shannon, I can share with you, those were hard years to go through. I almost left him numerous times
Right.
because I couldn't take that rejection because I was loved. Like my mom hugged me. I was used to affection, I was used to getting kissed and said, I was used to that. So I'm like,
Wow.
I can't live like this. Like it's cold hearted. But I had to stay and
Yeah.
pray and counsel long enough to understand. It wasn't me. That's who he was, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
But, I actually think it's kind of hereditary, like I said, because Jamila and Jay were both raised, well, not, they didn't
Mhm.
spend a lot of time around their father, in the younger years because he wasn't here.
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
they're the same kid.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
both kind of
Yeah.
emotionless.
Yeah.
You got to kind of pull it out of them. Now, just
Mhm.
like Jay loves you, I know my
Yeah.
daughter loves me. She returns a hug if I give it to
Right,
her, but
right.
she's not like the other three children. My
Mhm.
other three kids are running to the door,
Yeah.
beating the door down. Hi, ma. It's like I've been gone 20 minutes. I've been gone
Yeah.
literally a half hour, like
Yeah,
whatever. But she's
exactly.
not like that. She like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, a good thing I had three more kids. I'd
Yeah,
have felt like a
yeah.
failure because that's just who they are, though. So just like her dad, I had to learn
Right.
her love language as well.
Yeah. So what do you think when you think about I know you said you struggled initially. What do you think are other effects of, people growing up this way? Because I wonder if that's might be the reason why Jay's not married,
Ah, yeah,
um, if he's emotionally
yeah.
unavailable,
I
things
say
like
that,
that.
and
I
guess
don't
what?
know. What are your
Jamila's not in a
thoughts?
relationship either.
Mhm.
Jamila's never been in a long-term relationship. Like I know a few puppy love, like the boy she went to prom with. She talked to him for a little while. It was one guy she was kind of
Yeah.
attached to
Yeah.
down south. He ended up going to the army, but I don't I don't see, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I will be very in awe, shocked, and relieved if I ever see that girl get married because it's just like she's in her own
Okay.
world. And Jay's into video
Mhm.
games. It's like they live in their own world. Jay's into
Yeah.
baseball, work.
Yeah.
Jamila's a workaholic. I don't think Shannon
Yeah, Jay's a
Jamila's a
workaholic.
workaholic. I
Yeah.
don't Jimmy's a workaholic. I don't think
Mhm.
honestly,
Mhm.
I think there's a chance because look at Jimmy and I. But I honestly think it truly has to be an intervention of counseling, of faith. It can't just be. They can't
Mhm.
just turn and say one day, "Oh, I'm going to love this person. I'm going to find me somebody to love." I
Right.
honestly don't think without assistance and coaching that they're capable. That's just my
Mhm.
opinion
Yeah.
because it took me a lot of years,
Well,
to get. And I'm telling
mhm.
you, I almost walked out a few times. But can it happen? I absolutely believe anything can happen because I believe that God created someone for all of us. And I believe
Oh, yeah, for
that I was
sure.
Jimmy's someone who broke him out of that shell. So it's, I guess, a
Mhm.
matter of Shannon meeting the right
Yeah,
one.
I guess so. And when I think about, you just made me think of something because you've loved Jimmy for a long time, for many, many years since you were young. And
I hope it don't
I
take that
look at
long.
me, I was
But go
no,
ahead.
no, no. But I look at, my life and how I guess I was similar to Jay. Look how long it took me to settle down
All
and get
right.
married
Uh-huh.
because I could
Mm-hmm.
not, I just could not find what I considered a true connection until I met this crazy man I'm with now. So, until I found him, I said, he didn't fit the mold or the motto of anyone I'd ever had in my life. When I tell you outside the box, you know, it was totally out there. So maybe that Jay needs someone like
That's
that.
totally
I don't
outside of
know.
the box.
Someone that's totally outside the
Maybe.
box. Yeah, doesn't fit the
Because
mold that he's.
I think I've spoken about
Hmm.
it on this show with my mom and dad. The difference in my father and my mother. I think I've spoken that my father was like your
Hmm.
mother.
Yeah,
He was very financially available. It was really nothing that I've ever asked
yeah.
my father for. Like I literally can count on my hand, Shannon, how many times that man told me no in a
Hmm.
lifetime. Okay. And I had dad for
Hmm.
what, 40, 45 years. And I can tell you, he rarely told me no.
Hmm.
But I can also probably count the times he said, I love you too on those same hands because that's just who he
Oh
was.
yeah,
And my
yeah,
mother, on the other hand,
yeah.
was not a very good mother, as we've all discussed, not to her own fault.
Hmm.
She had an addiction, but she
Right.
loved me like no other. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
just crazy how that works. She was very loving, and my father was
Right.
totally. Now, I don't know if that speaks to why they didn't stay together very long. It just is what it is. So maybe
Mhm.
it's just that matter of finding that
Yeah.
one person, that brings that out of you. I don't know. Um, we talk about passing the torch in a sense of, which is what our topic here tonight, if you're just tuning in. Um,
Mhm.
Offenses. I want to bring that up. I think you said, Shan, I think we've talked about that in the previous show. When Denzel provided, he went to work
Yeah.
every day to a job that he absolutely hated, that he was above, but he did what he had to do for his family. And his son told him, in that one powerful scene, "You don't like me." And he said, "I don't have to like you. I don't even have to love you." He said, "It's my job to put food on
Mhm.
your table. It's my job to put clothes on your back." And, that broke my heart because I stood myself in that moment, Shannon. And I felt that way sometimes
Yeah.
about my mother. Like, she can't like me. Like, there's no way she likes me. She could not keep
Mhm.
hurting me like this. But you know what kept me going is that she loved me. And that I knew. So I guess
Right.
it's just a matter, Shannon,
Right.
of getting to know the person, you know. And I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
something. If you're an unhealed person, please don't get with another unhealed person. Trauma bonding is one of the
Oh,
worst
yeah.
things that I have ever seen,
Mhm.
and it's one of the worst things to detach from. So if you are a person
Yeah.
and you meet a person, because you don't know, Shannon, we talked about this in a previous show. People show their representatives sometimes. You don't know who you're
All
meeting
right.
day one,
Yep.
day two, or even month three. You don't know who you have.
Mhm.
But as those layers peel back
Mhm.
and you see that these, oh yeah, my dad did this too. Oh yeah, my I was raped. Oh, terrible things have happened in your lives, right? I
Mhm.
don't think that might not be the person. If you find yourself constantly bumping head and comparing war stories, that might not be the person to heal
Yeah.
with. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying if you have a
Right.
choice, try not to trauma bond because usually that's the bond. It's not really the loving, relationship that you're looking that will bring you out of it. Usually that is the connection, the trauma. And people just don't need to
Yeah.
feed off of that. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So don't
Mhm.
pass the torch in that way
Yeah.
either. Don't pass it down to your grandchildren. Don't pass it down to your children. Don't pass it to your spouse, and don't pass it to your significant other before they become your spouse. Don't pass those torches.
Mhm.
So I think, Shannon, in my opinion, I was created, for Jimmy. And I think that's why I was able to love him
Mhm.
through. I think in your case, you and Will were created for
Right.
each other. And that's why you're able to keep showing up and
Right.
making it work. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
these
Yeah.
were not things
Yeah.
that I can tell you, Shannon. I can honestly say that I love my husband and I hope that the last breath I take will be in his face and I'll never have to do this again. But if I had a choice, I definitely wouldn't have chose that. I think it's what God
Yeah.
chose for
Yeah. I
me.
could
You know what
see.
I mean? That was
Mhm.
very hard for me to go
Yeah.
through. It was a very hard for me to go through. But I
Mhm.
tell you this, I'm glad he chose me because I wouldn't want him wandering in the world the
Right.
rest of his life in the condition, the emotional state that he was in. So send it up in flames.
Yeah.
And now I
Yeah.
have a husband who can love me. He ain't all mushy. I don't think he'll ever be that way. But what we come to, I
Right.
can deal with now. You know what I'm saying?
And mhm. And like we've spoken about, several different times, and I know people say, "Here you go again, talking about the same thing." But the opposites, how you and Jimmy are opposite, and me and Will, because Will is you. He is the mushy. He is the, oh baby, baby, baby. I want, let's hug and be cuddled up all the time, that type of thing. And I'm like, you know, um, but he's made me a lot more caring and affectionate, and he'll when he comes in the door and he's just kissing all on me, before I'd be like, get away, get away. Now it's like, okay, let's go sit down, cuddle up, watch a movie, or you know he's very, very affectionate, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, full of emotion. When I tell you, it's nothing for him to shed a tear. And I'm looking at him
Right.
initially, of course, when we first got together. I'm like, Are you
Right.
crying? Why are you crying?" And it's so, if anyone ever saw him, you would never look at him and think that, because he's this big burly truck driver, or whatever. And people, when I tell them stories about him, it's hard for them to believe
Because
it
of his outer
sometimes.
appearance.
But he did, exactly, because of how he looks on. Yeah. But his mother, you know um and his father. He received a lot of love from them. He knew that they cared, even though his mother died when he was young, when he was 13. He still has these tender stories
How she loved
about
him.
her, yeah, how she loved him, and making sure him and his siblings had, you know, affection, and he remembers the last kiss she gave him because he got that. I don't remember any kiss I got when I was a child from my
Wow.
mother or my father for that matter. I mean, even though my father was loving, I was so far away from him, so of course I wouldn't have those memories
The distance played a part in that.
unless, we came to visit. Yeah, the distance. But for Will, he did have a lot of that, so I can see how that torch was passed from his parents to him,
And now he
which
displays that
is
to
a
you.
good torch to pass.
Absolutely. And Shannon, real
Mhm.
quick before I wrap up,
Yeah.
I won't even say with you and I, our torches. Like you're the and I'm the
Mhm.
mushy here. Even in our dynamic, you know what I mean? I'll call be like, Shannon,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I need to get this story. You're like, girl, I'll write it. Like, get on my phone. I'll write it. So even in our dynamic, it's like, I'm the mushy and
Right.
you're like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
you're the tough girl. So it,
Yeah.
it's just very the
Yeah.
opposites attract. It sometimes is needed. I would say sometimes it's
That's
needed.
true.
Once
Mhm.
heard TD Jake say real quick,
Mhm.
and I'll wrap up, that if everyone in your circle or everyone you thinks alike or you're the same person, you're in the wrong circle. So sometimes it's needed to
Yeah.
be on the opposite ends of the spectrum,
Mhm.
but not in relationships. I don't think that is good to both be
Right.
unaffectionate. I don't think that's really good for you both to be that way. Sometimes, and I think I said not
Exactly.
relationships, I meant
Yeah.
in relationship. In relationships, sometimes it is necessary to be on opposite end of the spectrum, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's good to both be mushy mushy. Like I think that's the best. But if you can't have it,
Mhm.
mushy mushy, you got to teach the tough guy how to love. If you're already in it to win it, stay in it.
Uh-huh.
If it's what you're running into and you feel like you just don't like it, then you have our permission, if it's just dating,
Mhm.
to reevaluate that thing because it's very hard to go through. And I'm not saying fight for your love.
Mhm.
You just shouldn't fight with love. That's all I'm saying. So, Shannon, do
Right.
you have anything else
Yeah.
before we wrap it
Yeah.
up?
I think we're gonna need a part two of this.
You think so?
And the reason I say that, let me tell you, before we wrap it up, is when we think about not passing the torch, one thing that I thought about when we had our discussion about this topic is I look at things that my mother did that passed down to me that didn't necessarily pass that my other siblings didn't get. My two other sisters are very, very, you know, I guess they're a lot more or emotionally connected to, um, like my oldest sister to her husband and her child, and my youngest sister to her child and was to her ex-husband. And I was more like my mother. And my mother, was pregnant at
Mm-hmm.
15 and was married at
Okay. My
16.
mom too. That's so
And
weird, but go ahead. But that was normal
yeah,
back in those days. Yeah.
yeah. Well, not that wasn't that
Well,
far
my
that
mom,
long
my
ago,
mom,
but
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't as uncommon as it would be today, is what
yeah.
I'm saying. I guess not normal, but it wasn't
Today,
as
yeah,
uncommon
you're
as it
right.
is
You're
today. I
right.
guess I should rephrase
Mhm.
that, but I get what you're saying.
Mhm. Okay, right. And when I think about the torch, when I ended up, pregnant at 19, having a child at 19, my mother was very disappointed. She was so angry and um didn't think, okay, maybe I showed her, whatever, that torch. She didn't think she passed that to me, I guess,
Mm.
is why I'm thinking
Ah,
maybe
she was
another
disappointment.
part two of this is needed because she thought, I had, you know, ruined the reputation and the life or whatever. And I'm not knocking my mother. I love my mother. Everyone
Speaking your
knows.
truth.
Oh my God. And I hate to give these
But
disclaimers,
you have to, because people who are new
but
to the show, who haven't
yeah,
heard us, who don't know our family
yeah,
dynamic, you don't want them to think, oh, it was a bad relationship. It was
right.
not. We're simply speaking our truths,
It
and our
wasn't. Mm-hmm.
truths were given to
Yeah,
us to help other people in our situation. So we give the disclaimers just to let you know, just
exactly.
keep it all in check here. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So thank you. Thank you. So a lot of times people don't realize they are passing a torch. They might, in their mind, because in my mother's mind, she says, "Here you are. You had the best life. You're educated. You're this and that. You grew up, pretty much privileged, and here you are going to get pregnant, become a teenage,
A statistic.
mother." When my other sisters didn't do that, she's like, "Look at them, look at them." And I will never forget when my youngest sister went off to college because I went off to college
Hmm.
and had to drop out due to having a
Right.
baby. But when my youngest sister went off to college, my mother told her, "Don't you go up there and get pregnant like Shannon."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, so she didn't look at, oh,
I did it. I
here I
made a
was
mistake.
herself. Exactly. So this whole passing the torch thing, some people don't realize that they're doing it. So some self-awareness and understanding that uh, sometimes you can't help it, but if you're hearing us speak tonight, maybe it'll make some folks a little more self-aware of what they've got going on or what they're doing, and definitely not to hold it against those who do make mistakes, um, because
Life
hey,
happens.
um, life it does,
And
it
sometimes
happens,
you
it
run into
really does.
jimmies and they
So
ruin your life. No, I'm just kidding. Because I'm just kidding.
no,
I
you're
know
so
I love my baby.
crazy.
But listen, it's funny because
I
you
know
got
you
Jay,
do.
you got pregnant with Jay, you dropped out of college. I dropped out of college trying to go get pregnant, okay? Because I was after that boy. My shit was out here just wrecking people, and I'm just kidding.
Oh
But
Lord,
anyways,
oh
hey,
Lord.
didn't I say make you laugh? That's what they come here for, Shannon. They know I'm gonna give them a good laugh.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways,
You
in spite
are.
of what
You
you
are.
just said, I think we'll do something untraditional here. I think we'll hold a
Mhm.
wrap up. We're going to finish part 2 of what happens when you pass the torch. We'll come back with that next week.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
come back that and we'll
we
share some
will.
stories because guess what? It does happen. Look at Shannon and I. So we'll come
Mhm.
back with part
Mhm.
2. We're going to save our wrap up. But what I will give you tonight is our new segment, which is the sound off segment. Shannon, you want to take us to it?
All right.
All right. So, as I've mentioned quite a few times in all of our other episodes, if you guys for our new family, we've been we've been fighting with this one segment. We've had some challenges with it. So over our break, we have did some surveys, and it come to our I guess what's the lack of a better word, Shannon? It comes to our
Attention.
attention that
Attention.
we will now circle back to the music segment. We used to have one called Name That Tune and
Yeah.
people we would say segments of the song. They didn't like that part. So what we will do season 5 and moving forward, we have planted our feet, we have found our being. We will name it Sound Off segment and
Mhm.
we're just going to give you a song every Thursday that lines up with our topic and just give you a little more musical history, give you a little more musical breakout. Some songs people had never heard that we mentioned, so they kind of like that. So what we're gonna do is give you a song. You go and you listen to it, either add to your genre or say to yourself, "Man, I ain't heard that one in a while. It sounds so sweet." And
Mhm.
tonight, that song is Peebo Bryson. I don't have the
Ooh,
heart. Shannon, do you remember that song?
Evo Bryson. No, I do
Now
not.
I need you to go listen because now you're gonna get your black. You know it. I just gave it back to you at the premiere. I'm gonna take it again, Shannon. I don't have the heart by Peebo
All
Bryson,
right.
y'all. That's y'all assignment for tonight.
Okay.
Also, we will call this sound off segment. So if you have any songs that you would like Shannon and I to put with the topic, because y'all know we are very creative and we can get it done.
Mhm.
Or you may be an independent artist looking to be heard. Send your suggestions to wifeyandbabymama@gmail.com. That's wifey and baby mama at gmail.com. And we'll do our best to put your music in the people's ear. Okay? So that
Yeah.
is our segment for tonight. Shannon, take us out.
All right. Until next week, we look forward to another Thursday night with you all.
We love
Enjoy.
you. Bye.
mama.